Admiral Han stood at the wide windows of the Terran Space Command headquarters in Seoul, watching the morning sun reflect off the sleek ships in orbit. It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday, but the universe had other plans. "Admiral," Captain G burst into the room, his usual calm demeanor shattered. "We're picking up a transmission. It's not from Earth, sir. Not from any of our colonies either." Han turned slowly, his weathered face showing no surprise. After 30 years in Space Command, he had expected this day would come. "Put it through to my office, Captain." As they walked to the sealed command room, Han noticed how G's hands shook slightly while holding his tablet. The younger officer had trained for first contact scenarios, but training was different from reality. The message filled the room's holographic display. At first, it looked like flowing water made of light. Then the alien language translator began its work, and words formed in the air. "People of Earth," the message began, "we are the Luminary. Our civilization faces extinction. We need your help." Han and Jai exchanged looks. Humanity had wondered about alien life for centuries, but they never expected first contact to be a cry for help. The message continued, showing images that made both men's hearts sink. Beautiful crystal cities crumbling under attack. Ships that looked like they were made of starlight being torn apart by dark, angular vessels that seemed to swallow light itself. "We have watched your world," the luminary message said. "We know Earth is classified as a death world by galactic standards. Your gravity is crushing, your atmosphere corrosive, your temperature swings lethal. Yet you thrive there. You have built mighty ships and weapons. You understand war in ways we never had to. Until now." Captain G pulled up Earth's defense readings on a side screen. "Sir, their transmission is coming from a star system about 3 weeks away at our fastest speed. The signal's degradation matches that distance." Han nodded, studying the images of destruction. "What are they fighting?" The message answered his question. "They call themselves the Void Collective. They saw our beauty and decided to take it. We are artists, philosophers, builders. We never learned to fight. But you are warriors born on a world that tries to kill you every day. We offer trade, knowledge, friendship in exchange for your help." More data flowed across the screens: star charts, ship designs, biological data about both species. The Luminary were being completely open, holding nothing back. "Send this to every major command center," Han ordered. "Wake up anyone who's sleeping, and get me a direct line to the Defense Council." "Sir?" Jip paused at the door. The Luminary mentioned other aliens knowing about Earth. "How long do you think they've been watching us?" Han smiled grimly. "Long enough to know we can't ignore people who need help." He turned back to the screens, already planning. "They called Earth a death world, thinking it's a disadvantage. They don't understand that surviving here has made us stronger than they can imagine." As Jai left to carry out his orders, Han replayed the images of the Void Collective's attacks. The aliens thought Earth's harsh conditions were a curse, but Han knew better. Every storm humanity weathered, every disaster they survived, every challenge they overcame, it had all been preparation for this moment. The Admiral touched his screen, beginning the process that would eventually mobilize Earth's entire fleet. He spoke softly to himself. They asked for help from Deathworlders. Well, they're about to learn what that really means. In orbit above, Earth's mighty ships waited, their crews about to discover that everything they knew about being human was about to become their greatest advantage among the stars. The emergency meeting room at Terran Space Command was packed. Admiral Han sat at the head of the table, with Fleet Commander Song on his right and Defense Coordinator Lee on his left. The room's screens showed the Luminary's message on loop, their crystal cities falling again and again. "We can't send our entire fleet," Lee said, pointing at the defense charts. "Earth would be defenseless." Commander Song leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the falling cities. "If we do nothing, we're saying Earth stands alone. Is that really who we are?" Captain Jai entered the room with new data scrolling across his tablet. The luminary sent more information about the Void Collective. He said, connecting his device to the main display. You need to see this. The screens filled with dark ships tearing through space. Unlike the graceful luminary vessels, these looked like pieces of night sky come alive. They moved like hungry predators, hunting down the lighter ships with terrible efficiency. The Void Collective has attacked 12 peaceful systems before this, Jai explained. The luminary are just the latest. They strip each world of resources, take what they want, and leave the ruins behind. Han watched his officers' faces as they studied the footage. He saw anger there, and something else. Recognition. These weren't just aliens anymore. These were bullies, destroyers. Humanity had faced their kind before. How many ships do they have? Song asked. About 300 major vessels, Jai answered. But their technology is more advanced than ours. Lee shook her head, which is exactly why we can't risk everything. If we lose our fleet, Earth is next. Or Earth is next anyway, Han said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. The Void Collective now knows we exist. The luminary chose us because we're strong. How long before our strength makes us a target too? The room fell silent. On the screens, another luminary city crumbled. Psalm pulled up Earth's fleet numbers. We have 420 ships ready for deep space, another 50 that could be ready in 3 days. Almost every trained crew we have, Lee warned. We have to pull ships from colony protection, trade routes, everything. Han stood up and walked to the main screen. He touched the image of a falling crystal tower, and it froze in mid-collapse. When I was young, he said, my grandmother told me stories about her grandmother. About a time when part of our world burned, and other nations sent help, even when it cost them greatly. He turned to face his officers. That's who we are. That's who we've always been. Jiz's tablet beeped with another message. Sir, the luminary are sending live footage. The screens changed to show a vast space station made of crystalline spires and light bridges. Thousands of luminary moved through its halls, their bodies glowing softly. Many were injured. All looked afraid. This is their last major shelter, Jai explained. The Void Collective will reach it in about a month. Commander Song stood up. A month. We could get there in 3 weeks at emergency speed. If we go, Lee said softly, we go all in. No holding back. Every ship, every weapon, everything we've got. She looked at Han. Because if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Han smiled. This was why Earth had survived everything the universe had thrown at it. Not just because humans were strong, but because they knew that strength meant nothing if you didn't use it to help others. Send the message, he ordered. Tell the luminary help is coming. And tell our crews. He paused, looking at each officer in turn. Tell them to prepare for the largest space operation in human history. As the orders went out, Han watched his people spring into action. They had trained for war, but hoped for peace. Now they would fight, not for themselves, but for a people who had never known war. Because that's what humans did. They protected those who couldn't protect themselves. The decision was made. Earth would show the galaxy what Deathworlders could really do. Lieutenant Park stood in the massive hangar of the Seoul spaceport, watching thousands of crew members prepare for humanity's first interstellar war. The sound of tools, voices, and machinery filled the air as Earth's fleet underwent rapid changes. The luminary sent another message. Engineer Kim said, walking up with a tablet showing strange diagrams. They don't understand why we're modifying our ships. They say their weapons are working fine against the Void Collective. Park smiled, watching workers install new heat shields on a nearby cruiser. They don't get it yet. We're not just bringing weapons. We're bringing Earth with us. In the 3 days since the decision, humanity had shown why they were different from other species. The luminary built beautiful ships that worked perfectly in calm space. Humans built ships that could work anywhere, because Earth had taught them to always prepare for the worst. "Look at their faces," Park said, pointing to the crew members rushing past. Some looked excited, others nervous, but none looked afraid. "They've trained their whole lives for something like this." Kim nodded, checking readings on his tablet. "The Luminary Ambassador just arrived. Want to see his reaction to our preparations." They walked to the observation deck where a tall, glowing figure stood watching the activity below. The Luminary Ambassador's light dimmed and brightened as he tried to understand what he was seeing. "Why are your people wearing such heavy protection?" the ambassador asked. "The space suits we sent you are much lighter and more comfortable." "Because we like backup systems for our backup systems," Kim explained. "On Earth, being uncomfortable is better than being dead." They watched as crews loaded supplies into the ships. The ambassador's light flickered in surprise when he saw the amount of food, water, and medical supplies being stored. "This seems excessive," he said. "The journey is only 3 weeks." Park exchanged looks with Kim. "On Earth, we have a saying: hope for the best, prepare for the worst. If something goes wrong out there, we need to be ready." Below them, crew members were running battle drills. The ambassador watched as they practiced fixing damage, fighting fires, and sealing hull breaches, all while wearing their heavy suits. "Your people train for so many disasters," the ambassador noted. "Is space travel really so dangerous?" "No," Park said, checking her own tablet's updates. "But Earth is. Everything we know about survival, we learned from our world. Now we're bringing those lessons to space." Kim's tablet beeped with new data. "The fleet modifications are at 85% completion. We're ahead of schedule." The ambassador's glow brightened. "This is impossible. No species can prepare for war so quickly." Park smiled again. "No species from a gentle world, maybe. But we're Deathworlders. Quick adaptation is how we survived." They watched as another ship's crew ran through emergency protocols. These weren't just soldiers going to war. They were humans bringing generations of survival knowledge to help those who had never needed to learn these lessons. "There's something else you should know," Park said to the ambassador. "Every crew member here volunteered. When they heard about your people's situation, they all stepped forward." The ambassador's light pulsed with confusion. "But why?" "You're risking everything for strangers." "Because that's what humans do," Kim said, checking the final modification reports. "When we see someone in trouble, we help. It's as natural to us as building stronger ships or preparing for the worst." Park watched as the last crews boarded their ships. In 3 days, they had modified an entire fleet, trained for new combat scenarios, and prepared for humanity's first major space battle. All because someone needed help. "We'll be ready to launch tomorrow," she told the ambassador. "And when we reach your system, the Void Collective will learn something important." "What's that?" the ambassador asked. "Never underestimate people who grew up on a world that tried to kill them every day." The ambassador's light flickered as he finally began to understand. These Deathworlders weren't just bringing ships and weapons. They were bringing the strength, wisdom, and determination that Earth had taught them. And that might be the most powerful weapon of all. 2 weeks into their journey through deep space, Captain Hume stood on the bridge of the flagship, Terra Dawn, watching her crew work. The massive view screen showed hundreds of human ships moving in perfect formation, their metal hulls gleaming in the starlight. "Captain, the Luminary want to speak with you again," her communications officer said. "They seemed worried about today's battle practice." Hume nodded. The Luminary ambassadors had been nervous ever since they saw the humans' combat drills. It wasn't the fighting that scared them. It was how much the crews seemed to enjoy it. "Put them through," she said, straightening her uniform. The screen changed to show 3 glowing figures. Their light dimmed and brightened as they spoke, like gentle waves of sunshine. "Captain Hume," the lead ambassador said, "we watched your ships practice attacking each other today. Isn't this dangerous?" Hume smiled. "That's exactly why we do it. Better to make mistakes now than in real battle." On the screen behind the ambassadors, she could see other luminary watching the human crews with fascination. After 2 weeks together, they still couldn't understand why humans treated dangerous situations so casually. Commander Kang entered the bridge with his daily report. The crews are learning fast, he told Yoon. They've already mastered the new battle formations. Show me, Yoon said. The main screen split to show different ship groups practicing. Some ships flew through clouds of space debris, testing their shields. Others practiced quick turns and sudden stops that would have torn apart the more delicate luminary ships. Your people seem to enjoy these challenges, one of the ambassadors noted. On our world, we avoid danger whenever possible. On Earth, we can't avoid danger, Kang explained. So we learn to face it head-on. Sometimes even have fun with it. The ambassador's light flickered with surprise when they heard laughter coming from one of the practice groups. A ship had made a mistake in the new formation, but instead of getting angry, the crews were joking about it and trying again. You laugh at failure, they asked. We learn from it, Yoon said. Every mistake teaches us something new. That's how humans grow stronger. Later that day, Yoon and Kang met with Admiral Han to discuss their progress. The Admiral had just finished reviewing data about the Void Collective's fighting style. The enemy expects everyone to fight like the Luminary, Han said. They won't be ready for Earth tactics. Our crews are mixing space combat with old Earth warfare strategies, Kang reported. The Void Collective won't know what hit them. Yoon looked at the star chart showing their position. 1 more week until we reach the luminary system. Will we be ready? Han smiled. Look around you. Every crew member on this fleet grew up hearing stories about heroes who helped others. Now they get to be those heroes. That evening, Yoon walked through her ship, watching her crew prepare for the coming battle. In one room, engineers tested new shield modifications. In another, tactical officers studied Void Collective battle footage. Everywhere she looked, humans were doing what they did best, adapting, improving, and getting ready for a fight. Captain, a young crew member called out, the Luminary sent us some of their music. Want to hear it? Yoon stopped to listen. The alien music was beautiful but simple, like starlight turned into sound. Then she heard something unexpected. Human voices joining in, adding their own strength to the gentle melody. That's when she understood. Humans weren't just bringing their ships and weapons to help the Luminary. They were bringing their spirit, their joy in facing challenges, their ability to find strength in hard times. And maybe that was exactly what the Luminary needed most. In 1 week, they would reach their destination. In 1 week, the Void Collective would learn what it meant to face people who had turned surviving on a death world into an art form. But for now, human and luminary songs mixed in the ship's corridors, a promise of what different species could achieve together. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the luminary system. Captain Jai stood at his communication station on the flagship, watching as the scene unfolded before them. The view made his heart sink. The once beautiful luminary worlds were surrounded by dark ships. The Void Collective's vessels looked like tears in space itself, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They circled the last luminary space station like hungry sharks. Count 350 enemy ships, Commander Kang reported. More than we expected. Admiral Han nodded calmly. Send the message, Captain G. Jai opened a channel to the Void Collective's fleet. His hands didn't shake anymore. 3 weeks of preparation had replaced his nervousness with determination. Attention Void Collective forces, he broadcast. This is the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here at the request of the Luminary people. Withdraw from this system immediately. The response came quickly. On the main screen, a dark figure appeared. Its shape kept changing, like smoke in a bottle. Earth vessels, the figure said, its voice deep and cold. This matter does not concern you. Leave now, primitive Deathworlders, or be destroyed with the Luminary. Admiral Han stepped forward. This is Admiral Han of Earth. We gave you a chance to leave peacefully. Remember that. The dark figure laughed. You threaten us? Your ships are crude. Your weapons are simple. You live on a world that should have killed you. What can Deathworlders teach us about war? Han smiled. Everything. He gave the signal. Across the human fleet, crews jumped into action. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times over the past 3 weeks. The Void Collective ships moved first, firing strange energy weapons that had easily torn through luminary shields. But human ships didn't use luminary technology. When the energy hit their shields, something unexpected happened. Direct hits on 30 ships, Kang reported, all shields holding at 90%. The dark figure's shape flickered with surprise. Impossible. Your primitive technology was built to survive worse than you, Han interrupted. Our world throws stronger punches every day. The human fleet split into smaller groups, just like they had practiced. Each group moved in patterns that looked chaotic, but were carefully planned. Engineer Kim's modified shields absorbed everything the enemy fired. They're trying to surround us, Kang warned. Let them try, Han said. Launch fighters. Hundreds of small ships poured out of the larger vessels. They flew in ways the Void Collective had never seen, using tricks learned from flying through Earth's storms and dangerous weather. The dark figure spoke again, but now its voice held a hint of worry. What are they doing? These patterns make no sense. Security breach detected in enemy command ship, Jai reported with a smile. Our computer virus is working. While the Void Collective had focused on weapons and shields, they had ignored something humans learned long ago. Sometimes the best attacks don't use weapons at all. Their ships are losing power, Kang announced. Shields dropping on 30% of their fleet. The human fighters struck first, their weapons carefully modified to hurt the energy-absorbing ships. The larger vessels followed, moving in to protect the damaged luminary station. How? The dark figure demanded. You are nothing. You come from a world that tries to kill you. Exactly, Han said. Earth taught us that surviving isn't enough. We learned to fight back. We learned to win. He turned to his crew. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The battle exploded into full force. Human ships danced through space like they were born there, turning the Void Collective's greatest strengths into weaknesses. Every trick learned on Earth, every lesson paid for with human sweat and tears, now proved its worth among the stars. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they were just getting started. Engineer Kim worked quickly in the engine room of the Terra Dawn, his hands steady despite the ship shaking from enemy fire. Around him, his engineering team moved with practiced ease, treating the battle like just another day at work. Their weapons are getting stronger, his assistant called out. They're adapting to our shields. Kim smiled as he adjusted the power flow. Good thing we planned for that. On the bridge, Admiral Han watched the battle unfold. The Void Collective had recovered from their initial surprise and were now fighting back hard. Their ships had formed new patterns, trying to copy human tactics. They learned fast, Commander Kang noted, studying the enemy movements. But not fast enough, Han replied. Signal all ships. Begin Phase 2. Lieutenant Park's voice came over the command channel. Sir, my strike team is in position. You have permission to proceed, Han said. Show them why Earth's weather made us the best pilots in space. Park's squadron of small fighters broke away from the main fleet. They flew straight into a dense field of space debris that the Void Collective was using for cover. Any other species would avoid such dangerous conditions, but humans had trained for this. Look at those crazy Deathworlders, one of the enemy commanders broadcast. They'll tear their ships apart in that debris field. But Park's pilots weaved through the dangerous space like it was nothing. On Earth, they had trained in dust storms, hurricanes, and blizzards. Floating rocks were easy in comparison. Enemy ships breaking formation, Kang reported with satisfaction. They're trying to figure out how we're doing this. Engineer Kim's voice crackled over the comm. Shield modifications complete, Admiral. Ready when you are. Han nodded. All ships, execute maneuver Delta 7. The human fleet suddenly split into 3 groups. The Void Collective's dark ships followed, thinking they had the humans trapped. That's when Kim's modifications came into play. The human ships turned off their engines and shields, appearing dead in space. The enemy ships moved in for the kill, just as planned. Now, Han ordered. Every human ship activated their new shield configuration at once. The energy burst out like artificial sunlight, turning the battlefield bright as day. The Void Collective's ships, designed to absorb energy, suddenly found themselves overloading. Their ships are shutting down, Jai reported from his station. They can't handle this much power. Park's squadron struck from behind, hitting the enemy's weak points that they had discovered during their debris field run. More human ships joined the attack, using Earth-based battle tactics that the Void Collective had never seen before. How are they so organized in chaos? The enemy commander demanded over the open channel. This makes no sense. Han's reply was calm. On Earth, chaos is normal. We learn to use it instead of fear it. The Luminary watched from their space station as the battle turned. They saw human ships flying through conditions that would destroy their own vessels. They watched Earth crews treat deadly dangers like minor inconveniences. Report from engineering, Kim's voice announced. We can keep this up for hours. Earth storms last longer. The Void Collective's fleet began to break apart. Their perfect formations fell into disorder as human ships struck from multiple directions, using the debris field, the local star's radiation, and even the enemy's own energy weapons against them. They're retreating, Kang announced as the dark ships began to pull back. Han watched them go, but he wasn't celebrating yet. Secure the Luminary station, he ordered, and keep our shields up. On Earth, the calm middle of a storm just means there's more coming. As rescue teams headed for the station, the Luminary sent a message to the fleet. We never knew Deathworlders could be so magnificent. Han looked at his crew, humans who had taken everything Earth could throw at them and turned it into strength. We're just getting started, he said. The Void Collective hasn't seen anything yet. Commander Kang stood in the launch bay of the Terra Dawn, checking his strike team's equipment one last time. The Void Collective's main fleet had returned, twice as large as before. They had called in reinforcements, determined to destroy both the humans and Luminary. This is crazy, even for Deathworlders, his second-in-command said, watching crews prepare the special assault shuttles. That's why it'll work, Kang replied, smiling. Nobody expects crazy from a military force. Above them in space, the battle was already raging. Captain Yoon coordinated the fleet's defense from the bridge, her voice steady as she directed ships through the chaos. Enemy forces are targeting the Luminary station again, Captain G reported. They're trying to draw us away from their command ship. Admiral Han's voice came through clear and strong. Then let's give them something else to worry about. Commander Kang, you have permission to launch. Kang's team boarded their shuttles. These weren't normal ships. Engineer Kim had modified them to look like debris from destroyed vessels. As they launched into space, they appeared to be nothing more than battle wreckage. Remember your training, Kang told his team over the comm. This is just like the underground training missions back on Earth. Except this time, we're in space. The shuttles drifted toward the enemy command ship, lost among real debris from the battle. Inside each shuttle, human soldiers checked their magnetic boots and special space armor. They had trained for this in the worst conditions Earth could offer. They're not even scanning us, one soldier whispered. They think we're just trash floating in space. Kang watched as they got closer to their target. The enemy command ship was massive, like a piece of dark crystal growing in space. Its surface absorbed light, making it hard to see details. But Kang's team had studied every image, found every weakness. Contact in 30 seconds, his pilot reported. They still haven't noticed us. Meanwhile, the main battle grew more intense. The Void Collective had learned from their last defeat and were fighting smarter. But Captain Yoon had expected this. "All ships, execute pattern stormbreak," she ordered. The human fleet moved in ways that looked random but were carefully planned, just like weather patterns on Earth. The enemy commanders were getting frustrated. "These Deathworlders fight like natural disasters." "That's because we learned from them," Yoon replied calmly. Her fleet spun and dove through space, keeping the enemy's attention away from Kang's approaching team. Kang's shuttles finally reached the command ship's hull. Using tools designed for Earth's deepest mines, they cut their way inside. The enemy never saw them coming. "We're in," Kang reported quietly. "Beginning Phase 2. His team moved through the enemy ship like shadows. Their suits, designed to work in Earth's most dangerous environments, protected them from the ship's strange atmosphere. When they met enemy crew members, their Earth gravity-trained muscles gave them a huge advantage in the lighter artificial gravity. "Engineering section secured," one team reported. "Bridge access found," reported another. The Void Collective's leaders finally realized they had been invaded, but it was too late. Kang's team had already taken control of key systems, using tactics learned from centuries of Earth warfare. "Command ship is compromised," Kang announced to the fleet. "Execute final attack pattern." Outside, Captain Yoon's fleet suddenly changed formation. Instead of defending, they attacked from all directions at once. The enemy fleet, expecting another trick, didn't realize their commanders could no longer give orders. "Their formations are breaking," Jai reported from his communications station. "They're losing coordination." Admiral Han watched as the mighty Void Collective fleet fell into chaos. "Send the message," he ordered. "Tell them what happens when they force Deathworlders to use everything they've learned." The battle was reaching its end. Humanity had brought not just their ships and weapons, but generations of experience surviving on a world that had made them stronger than anyone expected. And now, among the stars, that strength would protect those who needed it most. 2 weeks after the final battle, Fleet Commander Song stood in the great crystal hall of the Luminary space station. The room sparkled with light from 1,000 glowing luminari, all gathered to honor the human fleet that had saved their civilization. "Look at how they rebuilt so quickly," Captain G whispered, watching luminary engineers repair their damaged structures. The crystal cities were already starting to shine again. "They're artists," Song replied. "We showed them how to survive. Now they're showing us how to make survival beautiful." Admiral Han stepped forward to meet the Luminary High Council. The alien leaders glowed brighter than their people, their light filling the hall with rainbow colors. "Earth's children," the head counselor said, their voice like soft music. "You have given us back our future. How can we repay such a debt?" Han smiled. "By helping us make the galaxy safer for everyone. No more easy targets for bullies like the Void Collective." Engineer Kim and Lieutenant Park stood with a group of luminary engineers, sharing ideas. The aliens had already started adding Earth-style safety features to their ships, while humans learned how to make their vessels more elegant and efficient. "The Void Collective's survivors are spreading the word," Commander Kang reported, walking up to Han. "They're telling everyone about the crazy Deathworlders who turned their own strengths against them." "Good," Han said. "Maybe next time someone will think twice before attacking peaceful worlds." The Luminary had prepared a special surprise for the ceremony. As their leaders spoke, the station's crystal walls showed images from the battle. But they didn't show just the fighting. They showed human crews helping wounded Luminary, engineers working together to repair ships, and soldiers sharing meals with alien refugees. "We used to think living on a death world made you harsh," the head counselor said. "Now we understand it made you strong enough to be kind." Song watched as human and luminary children played together near the hall's entrance. The alien children were teaching human kids how to make light dance between their hands, while the human children showed them how to play simple Earth games. "They're already calling Earth the Guardian World instead of a Death World," Jay said, checking his tablet. "The news is spreading through every peaceful system." Captain Yoon joined them, carrying a crystal that the Luminary had given her. "They want to build a joint academy," she said, "a place where their people can learn our survival skills and we can learn their arts and sciences." Han nodded. "The best of both worlds. Their beauty and our strength." The ceremony ended with a display that no one expected. The luminary used their crystal technology to create a huge image above the station. It showed Earth, but not as others saw it. They showed it as humans saw it, a challenging but beautiful world that had taught its children to be strong, creative, and compassionate. "Remember this day," the head counselor announced to the gathered crowds. "Remember when the people of a death world crossed the stars, not to conquer, but to protect. Remember when Earth's children proved that the hardest worlds can produce the kindest hearts." As the human fleet prepared to return home, Som took one last look at the crystal cities. They were different now, stronger but still beautiful, just like how meeting the luminary had changed humanity. "We came to save them," she said quietly, "but I think they saved something in us too. They reminded us why we grew strong in the first place." Han understood. "Not just to survive," he said, "but to help others survive too. That's the real lesson Earth taught us." The ships of Earth's fleet turned toward home, their hulls now decorated with crystal patterns that glowed like stars. They had come as Deathworlders, feared and misunderstood. They returned as guardians, proof that the hardest worlds could produce the greatest heroes.